sky was burning. The clouds red with twisted fire. Lightning moving across them. And they descended upon everything. Like a furious battle between God and Satan, good and evil. Like a fire vortex.
What is up, everybody? SGO coming at you live. There might be a little bit of a surprise here on stream coming at you soon, but we've got the final match of the regular season upcoming. It's going to be Emerald City RCU versus Emerald City Blue. The Seattle Infight is about to begin, the last one of this regular season upcoming. I am only one of your hosts. I am Debit, the one who wants to depreciate land, but I am not alone. I am joined by my Texas, now Floridian co-host, Luis. How are we doing tonight?
Yeah, doing great, Debit. Really happy to be here as we close out what was a remarkable Season 8 of SGL. Really appreciate everybody being here, and like Debit said, we have an all-Seattle battle to close us out for, again, what has been a tremendous season. And yeah, looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and as we just mentioned, it's the Seattle Infight, but we're still playing for stuff here in SGL. We still got one more thing to decide, and that is who's going to take that top spot here in SGL, because that's only between basically two teams at this point. It's going to be the one here, Emerald City RC. They have the opportunity to take that #1 spot here, and I know if we're going to be getting a preview of the league table here soon, that the locals currently hold that spot. 33 points, only 2-point cushion right there. Emerald City Emerald City RC have a great opportunity to take that first overall spot there and get that crucial little buff going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and of course, Debit, that buff that you mentioned is the first and second seed do have a first-round bye. So tonight's going to be really important for ECRC to secure that #1 spot. Again, they're already in the playoffs. As you see on your screen right now, they are in that third seed. But getting that #1 seed for the playoffs is going to be really important for ECRC tonight. And little sneak peek of a preview for me. I think they'll get it done tonight, Debit. I think they'll take that #1 seed.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like I'd have to agree with you there for the most part. Even though there's very ample opportunity here for Emerald City Blue to sort of, put a little damper on things going into the last match. They really have nothing really to fight for here. They're out of the playoffs, but they can have spoiler with this. But if we're looking at Emerald City RC, I expect them to get it done, just as you have said. But before we preview that match a little bit more in depth, let's talk a little bit about this current Week 11 recap that we got going on. Every match of the week has been played out so far. As you can see, Black Army sweeping the locals in a little bit of a surprise there. Maybe not expecting quite the sweep that we saw, but Black Army did get that done. The Rebellion taking care of business against Steel Army. Tightly contested one, but top team ended up showing out very well. Timber's Army sweeping Los Verdes to kill any drama that this week could have had whatsoever, taking that last spot of the playoff bracket. And KC Cauldron getting it done versus El Matador. Nothing left to play for essentially either of those teams, because El Matador was locked into the 4-5 spot. They could have played for potential, I guess, first round server difference, but it's East Central. Not too much difference there.
Yeah, I think this week the main result that I was looking at is that Black Army local series. I think some people predicted Black Army to win that game, Debit, but not in the fashion they did. It was pretty convincing, and they looked to be playing their best Rocket League at the very best time for a team going into the playoffs. So Black Army, I really thought, were the standout team from this week. in my opinion. I think Vexamed and those guys, they're balling, and honestly, they're right there as a contender to win this playoffs if they keep playing at that sort of level that they showed against the locals.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Black Army, we've talked about this a ton, that Black Army are like, they're a little bit of that wild card team. They've got a ton of talent, ton of skill, a lot of mechanics on their side. But a ton of times we've also seen their defense let up a couple of stinkers that honestly should not have their way into the back of their net sometimes. But, you know, taking care of business against the locals, the number one team at the time, who had the opportunity to take that number one seed for themselves, that's how you show at least that you're ready to take on these top teams here within the playoffs. But with the locals also dropping that series now, we also have to look forward to this playoff format here for Season 8. I'm sure it's been mentioned a couple times in the broadcast already, but talked about it a ton before. Top 6 teams have made it. We've already told you the top 6 teams. But yeah, let's just take a little bit of a run through of this playoff style bracket. Again, we are waiting for just the last seeds to fall into place right now. But Luis, let's take a look at this bracket. Let's see what's going on with it here. Straight double elim.
Yeah, straight double elim, and so as you can see tonight's game, there are implications. Obviously, with ECRC, if they do get that first spot, they'll feature right there at the top of your screen, top left in that first spot. And again, just straight double elim. There were talks previously about reseeding. One of the things that we did a couple of nights before we did announce this graphic here is we kind of went through the bracketology side of what that would imply, and we found out that like if the number 1 and 2 seed like win their first game, then like you just do winners round 1 all over again in that bottom losers round 1. So we said that's probably not fun. Probably not fun to play 2 same exact rounds in the playoffs, and so straight double elim is what we got. It's a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to follow too. So I'm looking forward to it, Debit. I think obviously I think the 4 and the 5 seed are already in place. That'll be the Rebellion versus El Matador. But we are currently waiting for tonight's game to see where the rest of the teams will stick, with the exception of Timbers Army, who I do believe are going to be our 6th team. But the other 3, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I believe can all change here tonight, Debit.
Yes, that is absolutely true. 4, 5, and 6 are locked in no matter what happens here tonight. The Rebellion are going to be the 4th seed, El Matador the 5th seed, Timbers Army that 6th seed. But with Emerald City RC, the way they've been playing, this literally comes down to, all right, do they win 1 game and that's it, and they move into 2nd? Do they win 2 games, automatically move into 1st? And obviously if they win the 3rd game, they're taking the 1st seed anyway. But at that point, we're looking at any shift from Black Army going to 3rd. That's the lowest they can go, but they're definitely not solidified within that 2nd spot unless EC Blue gets it done here today. The locals, only spot they can move is 1st or 2nd. So that's the only shift we're going to see out of this one. So that's where this matchup is very crucial. Emerald City RC have all the incentive to get this done and get that crucial bye, just to, you know, give them a little bit of that leeway further into the bracket. Even though whenever you're looking at this bracket, if you're losing in the 1st or the 2nd round, you're still going to end up within that losers round spot, no matter what over there. But you could give yourself a bit more of a favorable matchup, or at least a little bit of that cushion, maybe see who you could be working your way up against going into those bye seeds.
Yeah, so again, if you have a bad showing in your first playoff game, you still do have a chance. The beauty of double elim, and so yeah, I think again, I think if you're one of the top seeds here, I think that you do want to finish as high as you can. So I think ECRC will be incentivized to finish as high as possible. So tonight's game is really important for them. And then yeah, like you said, the locals, the lowest they can finish is 2nd. So if you're the locals, not too sure if you want to finish 2nd or 1st. There's always like gamesmanship in terms of matchups that could be. So I guess you'd have to ask one of their players or whatever. But yeah, I mean, this is the bracket we have for these playoffs. And after tonight, all of these numbers will be filled in with your favorite team. And so once that happens, I'm sure we will get that announced on the Discord, and then it'll be a graphic that we have in the next broadcast for you guys. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Debit, obviously your team is not in it, unfortunately, but there will be a consolation tournament for those teams that did not make the playoffs. And so if you are in SGL and you are watching and your team did not make playoffs, there will be a similar postseason tournament for you guys as well. So really looking forward to seeing all of the SGL teams in action in some sort of postseason event one way or another.
Felt a little bit of that pain hearing that. Yeah, Debit, your team's not in there. Man, that's tough. You fight your way as best you can back into it, but unfortunately no go. But that means we just have to have a little bit of fun ourselves over in that bottom 5. So yeah, please stick around. That consolation format will be released very soon, as we're just making final calls on that for the moment. But let's get back here to this matchup that we got going on. This is where all the implications are at. We've got ECRC versus EC Blue. Now, EC Blue, their lineup has not changed at all. We're looking at Funk, we're looking at Huskies, we're looking at Christmas. ECRC, there's potentially a little bit of move around. You could have Spanky end up coming into the lineup. Gojo, being one of their top players, is likely expected within this matchup as well. Luis, who are you looking at coming into this matchup?
I can speak a little bit about both teams. I think ECRC are obviously one of the favorites to win playoffs this season. They have a tremendous team, and in my opinion, like I said earlier, I do believe they will finish with the number 1 seed going into playoffs. And so again, Gojo's the biggest name, the best player on that team, but Toe Death as well on that team. I don't want to go without mentioning him. If they do finish the first seed, just spoiler alert, he will be my MVP for this season. I think he's put up tremendous numbers, and again, I think leading your team to that top spot deserves that sort of accolade. So Toe Death been a really, really, really good player on that team. He might not be like a GC2 in terms of his rank, like a Gojo or whatnot, but for me, I think he's been the best player in SGL on that team. So Toe Death, really good season from you. And then with EC Blue, they've had a interesting run. They've been a team that is a borderline playoff team that has really put up some really good results against some really good teams. They've had some good results against El Matador where they won that fixture. They've had some other really good results against teams that are in the playoffs. And so, again, while tonight might not be much to play for, I think EC Blue is going to give them a really good game.
I absolutely think you would be correct to have that assessment there, because EC Blue, they've kind of been like that developing squad that has just rolled through. I mean, look at the way Christmas is put on the Mechanic Show. You see it in the preview here for the SGL channel, doing very well to set up teammates. Huskies has been that, slap shot, put away the goals here for EC Blue. You can never leave them alone. Funk, yeah, try going back on offense with that in a quick transition. Funk is literally meeting you within the midfield. But you do bring up a good point, I think specifically about Toe Death on ECRC. I'm not sure if I would go quite far yet to say MVP the season. Definitely on that team, though. Just pulling up a little bit of the quick stats here. Toad has 48 goals in 32 games over here. That 48 goals is one of the top 5, I believe, currently in SGL. It's already insane amount of goals per player as it is, averaging 1.5 goals per game. But also, it's just been like the staple of consistency here for ECRC. Gojo has been doing plenty to set up the opportunity, kind of the way that Christmas and Huskies has been for EC Blue. But the way Toad Death just stabilizes that team and also provides a little bit of that back-end support, getting that extra bump and whatnot, very crucial here. I am sort of wondering to see if Spanky will make an appearance. That's one player that I have actually really enjoyed watching on Emerald City RC come out to play whenever they do get the opportunity. So that is one that I'm really hoping that maybe we could get one final look at before we go into the playoffs.
Yeah, you mentioned Huskies and Christmas. I think they've been standout players this season for EC Blue. I think they're kind of in that same ballpark for probably most improved players in terms of this SGL season. Christmas in particular, I think he's been the MVP of his team. His mechanical ability has been shown throughout the season. He's had some really nice double taps to go along with it. So again, really good season for them. Next season, I expect them to be pushing for a playoff spot, just given the quality that we've seen throughout the season. So Yeah, really looking forward to seeing how they match up against the bigger brothers in Seattle tonight. And I think on that note, Deb, I think we do have both teams finally in the lobby, so I think we will be getting ready to go here shortly. Do we have a little prediction for you on this series here?
So I think if I recall correctly, I put this as a 3-0 for ECRC. Not so much that EC Blue didn't have the talent, but more ECRC just wanted to be like, yep, this is done with. Don't have to worry about it anymore. Let's just move on to the playoffs at this point. I don't know if you're feeling the same way about these predictions. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 3-0. But I think some of these games will be a little bit closer, Deb, than maybe people might think. But on that note, guys, here we go. Game 1 is underway, and Spanky is in the lineup. And as we say that, Funk is on the board, Deb, at 1-0 to EC Blue.
I'm not gonna lie, I literally did that joke of I looked down for a second and all of a sudden it's in the net. Quick little just didn't touch the ball there in the center. Funk gets the best touch, goes right down the middle. Gosh darn, we're at 1-0 already. And, well, EC Blue, this is the start that you needed.
Yeah, tremendous start from EC Blue. Again, about as good of a start as you could have asked for from them. And we are seeing no Gojo currently in the lineup for ECRC. So kind of an old school ECRC lineup here with Spanky back in the lineup. Always love to see Spanky. You mentioned him before the game. Good to see him back in the lineup. And so far, EC Blue holding firm. But as soon as I say that, Devitt, as the commentator curse goes, toe death. 1-0. Very, very good shot and a very, very good 50 from Spanky.
I think one of the best things we do here in SGL is commentator curse. I think that's... I wish we could track that stat. It feels like it's going at least like 40 or 50% right now for all the goals here in SGL. But yeah, you mentioned it. It's our MVP for ECRC. It's Toad Death. That opportunity given there by Spanky, excellently placed. Great pinch down. EC Blue, a little bit, falling behind there. Not in the game, but, just sort of getting the pressure put on. They're going to need to find these opportunities to get the ball out. They're a little bit struggling right now, and they need to stay on top of the ball.
Yeah, and as you say that, Funk down the other end. Good interception from Smashley. And I think, Devitt, we do have an Octane-less lobby, which is pretty rare to see. So we got a bunch of different cars, and Spanky with the Fennec barely misses the upper 90 there. But yeah, an Octane-less lobby, Devitt. It's good to see.
It doesn't bother me so much that it's an Octane-less lobby because that is the best car in my opinion. I do care in the fact that there is a Dominus on the field. Christmas in particular is using a Dominus, so I just take offense to that. Toad using a Masamune, however, that I do not mind at all.
Yeah, and speaking of Toad there, great inner passing from Smashley to the before-mentioned Toad Death. Yeah, Toad, known for his Masamune, a very, very underrated car in Rocket League. I think if you ever get a chance to experiment with another car, I really do recommend the car. It's tremendous for mechanics and just flip resets in general. But Spanky here on the air dribble in the Fennec. Should be an open net for Toad Death. Toad Death on the board for the second time, and he's just adding to his total goal stat, Devitt, that you mentioned before the game. And this is what you'd like to see out of an MVP candidate player in Toad Death.
Absolutely, and even a Gojo-less ECRC. I mean, look at the way that Spanky's able to just get the ball to Toad in the middle of the field. This is going to be super tough if you're EC Blue going to stop this kind of attack at this point, because with Toad Death the way he's attacking the ball, EC Blue, find your boost and find it quickly.
Yeah, and we've seen some passing plays. I think we do have an open net here. Christmas capitalizes on what was a fairly open net here. I think all three players from ECRC were in that northeast or northwest corner, sorry, and there's just no one down south. And Christmas, yeah, 2-2, and that's his second goal, I believe, of the game as well.
Unfortunately not the second yet. Yeah, the Funk got the first one here. Unfortunate little reality over here, because it looked like the classic setup. Spanky was setting up for a pass, albeit off of a pinch yet again, but unfortunately finding Smashley and Toad in that awkward spot just leads to a quick little EC Blue counterattack, and that's what you want if you're EC Blue, trying to catch ECRC out of position, get him into these little awkward spots over here, just even for these softballs put back into the middle. But EC Blue, if they're willing to absorb the pressure over here, maybe this is something they can work on for their game plan. They just gotta be able to cover their boost because a lot of times they just look kind of starved out there, or they're just not quite getting the ball out at that given point.
Yeah, and I want to highlight Spanky so far. I think he's actually played really well. I think I've really enjoyed him so far in these first 3 minutes. And again, he hasn't seen the field debit the way that he might have seen the field in previous seasons, but I think so far he's really not missing a beat.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I feel like a beat has not been skipped at all. Spanky fits into the lineup real smooth, just wants to be, you know, that team player, that supportive cast member. And I think that's where Spanky fits in the best here for this ECRC team. You know, I don't have to take the, you know, the reins or whatever. Just sort of let me do the good rotation. I'll cover some boost. I'll get the bumps wherever possible. But yeah, let me pass the ball to you, and you guys can cover it as Toad Death gets another one, this time through Smashley on the assist.
Yeah, a bit of a whiff here from Christmas. Funk in a very awkward spot following that whiff, and Toad Death in the right place at the right time, and he has a hat trick. That's 600 plus points already, debit, with still 70 seconds to go in this game, and so Toad Death off to a brilliant start for ECRC.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure whenever looking at the points leaderboard for some of the stats that could have happened after this game, I was like just about on the outskirts, and I think Toad might be at that point of kicking me out of everything at this point, just based on this series alone, because this performance is just absolutely insane. Here as Toad Death gets a fourth, oh my gosh, just keep piling it on.
Yeah, lovely pass from Spanky. Could have gone for a double, got bumped off of it, but no need to fear. Toad Death was absolutely here, and there you go, 4 goals for Toad Death. ECRC kind of running away with it here at the end. Really good performance again from their talisman and Toad Death.
That's exactly what you want to see. Maybe they can get more goals besides Toad Death, but as we see, Spanky just barely puts it off the crossbar. EC Blue have an opportunity. They're going for the bumps. Open net, Christmas. Nets the third. And we do have a game here. Maybe there'll be an OT call here from EC Blue.
Yeah, unfortunate bit of defense there from ECRC. Christmas picking up on 2 mistakes out of the ECRC defense, and 30 seconds left, debit, 1 kickoff goal, and they're right back in it.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw it literally as the first goal of the game. It's possible. It started off pretty solid, but Spanky's already up. Take the reins, get the ball back in. But finding these little opportunities where Smashley's back, that could be the opportunity here for EC Blue. They've got to keep the pressure on. They can't be sitting back at this point. It's time to push up, make them uncomfortable. Maybe there's an opportunity here, but there's just a little bit of waiting around that I don't like seeing out of EC Blue.
Yeah, good defensive clearance there from Spanky. 5 seconds left. The ball is not in the right end of the field for EC Blue. Can we get a 0-second goal? We do not, unfortunately, get a 0-second goal. ECRC 4-3 in game 1, and again, Toad Death, a tremendous performance. I'm interested to see how many points he finishes with. 7-6-2. That's a fantastic game from Toad Death. 4 goals and 7 shots. And if you're an ECRC fan, you will definitely take that.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just the kind of performance you want to see. I mean, we've talked about teams maybe potentially going soft before playoffs, you know, taking that little bit of a break. In esports, not as much as the same thing, or even just sort of these video game competitions compared to, you know, your normal sports type deal. But Toad Death, nope. This is a normal game for him. This is just boom, boom, boom. We shoot the ball. I'm literally down the field. Let's just knock it right in. Even though Spanky had that one potential one to take away, Toad Death had the opportunity. Took it with ease.
Yeah, and Spanky finishes this game with a hat trick of assists. Again, we mentioned him during game 1. I thought he was tremendous. He really didn't miss a beat, having not played as much as he has in previous seasons. So Spanky, tremendous game from him as well. And I love the passing plays out of ECRC. That's a staple of theirs, debit, but I always love seeing those passing plays. And in game 1, that really put them over the line. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing how they do in this game too. If we see any substitutions, if Gojo makes an appearance, or if ECRC is just going to keep rolling with what's working.
It could end up being that they just roll with this, because right now I am not seeing any other, you know, substitutions come in here from ECRC. It looks like we could just be rolling with this lineup. This could be Gojo saying, yeah, maybe just couldn't make it tonight. You guys got this. I trust in you guys to get this done. And Spanky, the old dad here of ECRC, getting it done, going into game number 2, taking on the kickoff. But yet EC Blue getting another ball back in deep, albeit this one just not on goal this time.
Yeah, good start from EC Blue here. Huskies to Christmas, Toe Death in the right place at the right time. Funk needs a good challenge here, and he does that to the best of his abilities there. And yeah, so far, good start from ECRC and Spanky. Debit, I thought Spanky was going to bury that for 1-0.
There's only one person that's allowed to score for ECRC, apparently. His name is Toad Death. And just be like, yep, you can't even have that shot on goal. Smashley's going to end up taking that one away, shoot it wide. It really feels like it this time around. Like, this is just the Toad Death scoring game. There's nothing else to say about it. Going for rebound opportunity. Actually, nobody wants to shoot on net for ECRC. We're at the point where, oh, never mind. We're finally there. Spanky gets the first one here.
Yeah, there was a barrage of fire at the EC Blue net, and Spanky finally lands one on target. And yeah, it seemed like there was a shot in there, Debit, I think where Smashley actually saved the ball for a goal for his team. So some bit of funny play there, but all in all, ECRC find the 1-0 advantage, and they've been deserved of that advantage so far.
Absolutely. Even though the shots haven't quite gone on goal yet, they have absolutely been controlling the pace of play, getting the shots around, just not on target. Smashley looking for a shot, ends up getting another pass. Spanky with a shot. Great save there from Huskies. Holding the line here from now, taking a challenge against Toad Death. And wow, good transition. They get to go defense to offense, but whenever you're boostless, it's causing a little bit of these awkward plays out from here from EC Blue. Would like to see a little bit more sustained control coming out of them as it leads to an opportunity here. Smashley gets a pass, looks for Spanky, another shot on target, and this is the Spanky game here for ECRC.
Yeah, Spanky coming off the back of that hat trick of assists in game 1 says, I can score some goals too, and he's got 2 so far. A great pass from Smashley. Sometimes the best ball is not a shot on target, and right there, Smashley shows you that, again, not everything has to be a goal. Yeah, good start from ECRC, and man, if you're EC Blue, you got to be worried here. It's not the best start that you could have had.
Yeah, they definitely have some of these opportunities coming down. They've had the counterattacks. They've had the good defensive play out. But the pressure here from ECRC, it doesn't even have to be shots on every time. And again, I'm pretty sure we've had 100%, goal and assists happening here for ECRC. They're always, passing back and forth between each other. It's just going to cause a lot of EC Blue defenders to be taken out of the play. And it's resulted in so many offensive opportunities here for ECRC. They're just playing business as usual at this point.
Yeah, and Christmas there, Debit had a chance there, very tough angle, couldn't find the net, but EC Blue finally starting to show a little bit of life on the offensive side of the half. And Christmas, I'm looking to Christmas, Debit. I need him to get back on the ball in the offensive third. He really needs to be the catalyst of his team. As we say that, Smashley down the other end, 3-0. Great shot from Smashley. And again, it all starts from the back. Spanky again contributing to the goal score with a great clearance to Smashley. And Smashley tucks it away, and it's 3-0 to ECRC.
With a little bit of help from Christmas on that 50, gets a perfect pass out to Smashley. And yet that is another goal that is assisted by a teammate from ECRC. They're just a little bit unstoppable right now. And EC Blue, we've mentioned it before, they've had some of these opportunities going out, but also whenever it comes to, the teams that are sort of fighting for their lives down towards the bottom but not quite out, this is where these opportunities, however, small they could be, you really have to make the most of them if you're a team like EC Blue, especially if you're a player like Christmas, trying to drive the play. Maybe get a 50 that goes your way, or something that just sets up your teammates better, because ECRC are just textbook, covering everything at this point.
Yeah, and as we say that another pass attempt at a Toe Death in the offensive third. It's one of the things that ECRC does the best out of most teams in SGL is those offensive third passes. They're really deadly. and they've been really consistent throughout their time in SGL. As we see a great passing play, Spanky to Toe Death off of the sidewall into the back of the net. And yeah, Deb, this is what ECRC does. They pass the ball to each other, and good things typically happen.
Yep, it's just the textbook game plan. Even off of a whiff from Smashley, the pass from Spanky just goes right to Toe Death. And Toe Death was hanging around in that offensive third the entire time. Never really fully rotated back, making sure the presence was known, got a boost steal, and there you have it. Hop off the wall, perfectly executed shot, and they have a 4-0 lead. They're looking comfortable, and they just feel comfortable throwing a barrage of everything here on EC Blue's net. I mean, why wouldn't they at this point?
Yeah, and I think it kind of just speaks to a... Oh, as we see, a great play by Toe Death. What a play, Debit. Toe Death off of the post, right to Smashley. Wow, that was a tremendous read from Toe Death. That really needs to be amplified.
Yeah, I thought that was actually going in at first. I was genuinely shocked. I was like, no way did they actually place that bottom corner in EC Blue's net. But, ends up fortunately backing right to it. Oh, and this is an interesting kickoff we got over here. I don't know if that was planned or not. But yeah, we go 5-0. EC Blue just sort of looking to get back on track with what they had going before. Because in that game one, they benefited off of some of the ECRC mistakes very well. But now, maybe just a bit of coasting right now from EC Blue. Maybe, trying to shake off the dirt, seeing if they can regroup here for game number 3, try to salvage something out of this series.
Yeah, and I think this game highlights kind of what I think Maz was saying in the Twitch chat, that EC Blue, while having some really good moments, there is a bit of a step up in class that we're seeing from ECRC, who are going to finish it off, I was going to say, with a 6th goal there, but as the clock ticks down here, Deb, I think 5-0 is a respectable score for both teams, and ECRC are on triple match point.
Triple match point, and our predictions are looking a little solidly intact right now, as this game is the Spanky show here for ECRC, looking very comfortable overall. The whole team is within 22 points of each other. They're assisting on every one of these goals except for one. So if you're ECRC, you have nothing to change. That's kind of just been this team's MO. They have their game plan. The teams have to adapt. If not, it's not whether they adapt to you, it's whether you adapt to them.
Yeah, and as we've already spoken about on the broadcast, ECRC, they have a particular style no matter who's on the field, Spanky or Gojo. They always play team plays. There's passing, there's great movement, there's good interchange. And again, Spanky hasn't played much this season, and he's just come in, and it's just been like nothing's changed, just this typical ECRC show. And yeah, they look comfortable. They're on a roll, and really, I think 5-0, although a respectable scoreline, they could have had 6, 7, 8 goals in that game. And so if you're EC Blue, maybe try to get more 50s in, implement some other strategies, maybe some more physical play, look for some demos. But really, Debit, I really see no way that ECRC doesn't finish this off in 3. They've been cruising.
Yeah, even if you implement some of these changes here for EC Blue, we're talking about capitalizing on mistakes at this point. Not that I don't believe EC Blue doesn't have the creativity to get some of these goals going here for them. It's just ECRC's system is like impenetrable to them. They're going to need a lot of things going for them this way just to, have this opportunity to get back in this series, or even just to take game number 3.
Yeah, and if you're EC Blue, the best thing you can do at the very start of a game is not concede. So far, better on EC Blue to kind of just weather the storm early on and see if they can get some goals. As we see some demos coming out, Debit, seems like ECRC is the one that are putting on the physical show to start game 3.
It is relentless right now. I'm hopping around to a couple POVs, and Smashley just looks like he's running a train wherever he can go right now. And I know EC Blue haven't been the fondest of some of the physical play that they've seen here in SGL. So I hope this isn't going to get to their heads as Toe Death gets another goal here for ECRC, adding to his already stacked tally this series.
Yeah, all 3 EC Blue players in the opposing half, and Toe Death says, I'll hit a long ball over the top, and 1-0 Toe Death on the board. I did like that aggressive offensive play from EC Blue, but you do want to see that coupled with at least somebody back. You don't want to have the entire team 10 meters from the opposing goal, but good start from ECRC, not letting EC Blue build up any momentum, and I fear for the remaining amount of minutes here for EC Blue.
Yeah, it's where we're going to need these players like Christmas maybe to drive a little bit of change. Maybe they have to hang a little bit back in that offensive half just to be around for these plays from Huskies so that they can potentially drive an opportunity. Because that's who you want if you're EC Blue to get these shots on. You want Huskies. They've been, you know, the best goal scorer here for your team. You want Christmas, your best assister, out there driving the play. You want Funk to be able to be a menace in the midfield as soon as ECRC gets that opportunity over here. But right now, they're just getting the ball plopped over them every time. And it's caused these awkward situations as Toad gets his second of the game.
Yeah, a great bit of individual play there from Toe Death. I love this flick here. It's a very Masamune flick right over the last defender. And Toe Death, I believe, I will check after the game, Debit, but man, he's getting really, really close to overtaking, I think, the lead for goals this season so far with his performance tonight.
The record is 55 for Meki Ducky so far this season. And if I recall correctly, he may be at 7 already for the series, because it was 4 in game 1, I think 1 in game 2, and we've got 2 so far, so I think we just need 1 more to get Golden Boot here for Toad, if my math is mathing.
Yeah, and again, coming into the series, I had him as my MVP. If they do end up winning in taking this top spot, which I do believe they will, tremendous season from him so far, and tremendous series from him. As is this going to be the goal, Debit? No, Husky says no, but Toe Death is circling, and I expect him here in the next 2 minutes 30 to add to his goal tally.
I think one of the best things I've seen, though, is that Toad is not looking for the goal, though. They're still playing the rotations. They're still playing that offensive side of, hey, I need to get in my opponent's way to drive that offense here for my teammates to start progressing, you know, even further, maybe get a better opportunity. That's one of the best things about Toe Death we got going for. Like, he's not, oh my gosh, nearly getting a crazy angle, but he's doing it without looking for the goal. He's just playing his game.
Yeah, and that could have been the third there. Great play by Spanky. Toad, unfortunately, couldn't finish it off there. But, man, EC Blue seemed to have really no answers here, Debit. ECRC's in complete control. And this could be it for Toe Death. There it is, through his third goal with a great pass from Spanky. Yeah, and there we go. And he's got what? Over 90 seconds to, I believe, take the Golden Boot lead, if we did the math correctly. So
I think that should be it if I...
Or is this it? Is this the Golden Boot lead?
I think that should be it. Chat, I can't remember how game 2... Oh, okay. Smashy gets a goal now. But I believe that is 8, and if that is correct, that means Toad would have 56.
Well, there you go, and as we do see on the replay there, Mr. Funk, a little bit of the couve into his own net. But yeah, congratulations to Toe Death. I believe that is the Golden Boot this season in SGL, so big ups to him, a big accomplishment. Yeah, just as a team, ECRC have been tremendous so far this series and so far this season. So they're really looking on the right foot going into the playoffs.
If you're EC Blue at this point, you're just trying to go out with a bang at this point. Crisp is nearly getting that opportunity here for EC Blue. There are opportunities over here, but now Toad is playing the defensive side of the ball, being an absolute nuisance here to Huskies right now. Christmas looking for a solo play, maybe to drag down for an assist. Nothing at the moment, but EC Blue can clear their lines at the current moment.
Yeah, and so far this game, Debit, there's just been nothing offensively for EC Blue. Really, I can't think of one I can't even speak. Golden opportunity they've had. It's just been all ECRC in the offensive half. So, yeah, this is just tremendous play overall from ECRC. And again, EC Blues had good results against some big teams in the playoffs. So, this is a statement win with arguably their best mechanical player not playing. So, and again, EC Blue have nothing to play for. But you really got to marvel at the way that ECRC is able to continue to roll as Toe Death is just adding to the Golden Boot lead. And wow, again, a great passing play all the way around. Spanky to toe death, and honestly, it's a little bit harder of a read than you might think with a defender right there on the back line. So good goal by toe death, 5-0 with 25 seconds left.
And if that one that we called earlier wasn't it, then this one is definitely it, because that is definitely 4 goals in game 1 and 4 goals here in game number 3 here for Toad. Definitely putting himself back in the top 5 for average points per game, and also just in total points, I believe, as well. Just knocking out Vexamed of that spot as ECRC, another 5-0 performance. This is going to be just a stomping here from them. This is something that you love to see if you're a fan of Emerald City RC. They take the #1 seed here in SGL for Season 8.
Yeah, and again, congratulations to ECRC. They will be the #1 seed going into the playoffs this season. I do believe the locals as well will be the #2 seed, and Black Army will be that 3rd seed. So congratulations to all the top 6 teams. Congratulations to ECRC for that #1 seed, and congratulations to Toad Death for most goals this season in SGL.
Absolutely, well deserved. Toad, I was a bit worried that potentially this could be that series that things go a little bit, sort of casual, but ECRC took on the challenge that nope, we're gonna get these accolades over here. And Toad, you got it. Congrats, Golden Boot winner. Insanely well done. You taking a top spot. Locals, fortunately, your result doesn't push you anywhere outside that top 2, so you still get at least that first round bye. Unfortunately for Black Army, you put on a valiant effort, but you are going to be going to that winner's round 1 here with that result.
Yeah, and here we go, Debit. Here are the final standings of Season 8 of SGL. Again, Emerald City RC finishing with that top spot at an 8-2 record, followed by the locals and Black Army also with that 8-2 record. And then again, we mentioned the 4 through 6 seeds already locked into place before tonight's action. But yeah, you look at the standings here, Debit. What are your reactions to seeing the final standings of the Season 8 regular season?
I think after looking at, some of the teams coming into this, I think I'm genuinely surprised that the locals had some of the performances that they did. I think this speaks a lot to Dr. Aquatic being that 3rd man of the locals, showing up, huge on the game days that they needed him to, being the best that he can be. That's critical here for the locals, as this was quite the performance put on their team, especially considering the talent around them with Black Army, Rebellion, El Matador, Timbers Army. And I'm going to leave this one for you, but to go in further depth, but there's a notable absence here from the playoffs. Let's speak on that for a little bit.
Yeah, and of course that notable absence is Los Verdes there at 1-9. No, it's in all seriousness. It is KC Cauldron. The defending champions are 1 point short. 1 game. That's all it would have taken for the defending champions to be back into the playoffs. It's a surprise that when they put out their best lineup, they are easily, in my opinion, like a top 3 team in the league. Unfortunately, they didn't put out their best lineup enough throughout the season, and it resulted in the 5-5 record that they ended up having, that 24 points. So big surprise for them, but congratulations to Timbers Army, a team on the flip side who had a very, very rough start to the season, and they crawled and they fought and they got that last playoff spot. So yeah, KC Cauldron, big surprise to really not see them in the playoffs following their championship last season.
Very notable absence, but as you mentioned, huge outcome here for Timbers Army. That's exactly what they needed at this time, especially in that series against KC. That was absolutely probably the series of the season. They needed to beat them, no matter what the circumstances was. And they did it. They got all the points that they needed to stay ahead, no matter what happened. They knew they were going to finish in the playoffs at that point. They shut out all the other teams, and they took the rest of the games to them. Said, all right, we're going to cover our bases. We're going to get in the playoffs. We did really well in Swiss last time for the Cup tournament. We're going to carry that over in this season, no matter how hard those first few weeks were. And we were really starting to wonder what happened to that Timbers Army. But they really showed up in this time period. Looking at the table as a whole, I think it is still pretty well representative overall of the talent field we have here in SGL. I would think that there's a lot more parity this time around because there have been a lot of gritty points taken out of these bottom squads. I know Steel Army's had quite a few 3-1s against these top teams. I know Emerald City Blue has had some gritty points. Los Verdes, that was what they were riding on in the first half of the season before things sort of like took a tailspin, and that was kind of what carried some of these bottom teams. It made things a way way more interesting down the stretch compared to previous seasons.
Yeah, and that's something that I've been harping on in commentary when I've had the chance, that this season, season 8 of SGL, has been the most competitive, has been the most parity that we've seen, and it's good to see. You don't want to see leagues in which you have just a tremendous disparity in class in terms of gameplay, mechs, ability, etc. So really, really happy to see that we've got a really competitive top half of the league, a really competitive fight for that last playoff spot. And yeah, it was a tremendous regular season. But on that note, David, I do think we actually do have the graphic ready for playoffs with the teams in their right place. So if we could pull that up and take a peek, let us see what we got to work with.
Yeah, I'm very interested because we had an idea. Yep, there it is. Here we are presenting your SGL Season 8 playoff bracket here with all the teams and their respective color scheme going into this. As we see Emerald City RC taking that number 1 spot, they face the winner of that 4-5 matchup in the Rebellion and El Matador. The locals taking on the winner of Black Army and Timbers Army. They're in that winners round 1 as well. And so, looking at least your initial thoughts, looking at this bracket, oh boy. We have a lot of potential interesting matchups to look at.
Yeah, I think the one that sticks out to me at the very beginning is I think that the Rebellion EM game is going to be really fun in that week 1. I think that game's going to be pretty close, I think. More close than I think people would think. So I think just across the board, David, in general, I think this bracket lends itself to have some really, really good series. And again, guys, these series will be 7-game series. So we're done with 5-game series. So we're kind of getting into the nitty gritty and the best parts of the season. So I'm looking forward to adding 2 more games to our series length. I think best of 7s, Deb, but just from an esports perspective, really add a sense of importance to the series. And so if you watch RLCS or whatever, once you get to the game 7s, it's the business end of the competition. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We can make predictions in future broadcasts if you want, and in the Discord. But just in general, I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of stuff to look forward to, especially with these teams. You definitely want to see these best of 7s come out in full swing. It's one of the best ways we can sort of view this competition. Now that we're out of this best of 5 territory, we get to see how these teams, go for the distance, because these could be some really long series we have upcoming. And I know we've covered a little bit of the brackets so far, but I think we're just about ready to talk to one of our members here from the winning side over here in this ECRC EC Blue matchup. But we do gotta cut to one little thing that we got over here. Toad Death, welcome to the booth. How are you doing here tonight after that W?
Yeah, thanks. It's good to be here. It was a lot of fun. It was quite the challenge to try to pack that many goals in, stealing goals from my own teammates.
Especially those last 2. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just straight robbery.
Absolutely robbed Spanky on the goal, and maybe the last one. Maybe that was an actual honest goal. Maybe, I don't know.
To say, going into this series, I guess I'll ask this first. Were you looking ahead, sort of going like, can I get this golden boot? Like, am I gonna try this hard for that, golden boot, or was it just like, let's just take it, step at a time. We'll see if we get that far.
Yeah, that was the theme going into it for me. I was really trying to get that like 8 goals, because I know last week I was chatting with Mecky Ducky. I was trying to tell him that I'm gunning for his golden boot. So that was my goal going in, but we obviously wanted to get the clean sweep. And we didn't want to do any extra games, any tomfoolery shenanigans to try to extend our game time to get more goals. So
Well, you don't love the stat padding? That's one of my favorite themes of
if we can do regulation stat padding, I'm all about it.
Well, speaking of the golden boot, and again, congratulations to you, Toadeth, on the golden boot. I do think we have a bit of a clip of that clinching goal. I think if we could roll it on stream as and also get Toadeth's reaction, because I do think there are some comms. So let's see if we can roll that for you guys on stream.
Is there enough time?
Uh-oh. Black screen for me.
Might be
Is
an
there
OBS.
enough time?
Oh, wait.
Oh.
Oh, take it! Do it! Yeah!
But Toadeth, can you tell me a little bit what's going through your mind when you score that goal there?
I don't know. I didn't
Is there
hear
enough
anything
time?
either, but
Oh,
Here
take
it
it!
goes
Do
again.
it! Yeah!
we were
What a
stoked. I don't even know
setup.
if people at home can hear it, but we were yelling a bit. I mean, full credit to the team. Like I absolutely stole the goal to get the golden boot. So, and Spanky was happy about it, so that's fair play. If he was ticked off, then I think I would not have been going for as many audacious, selfish goals and clips. But everyone was pretty chill about it, so that was really nice. So that was kind of our crowning achievement on what shapes up to be almost the first half of the season as we go into playoffs.
Well,
Yeah,
chat.
I just want to mention real quick. You mentioned Spanky. He came into the lineup and it was just like business as usual. Like, obviously Gojo's like technically like the highest ranked player on y'all's team, but like Spanky just came in and it felt like there was like literally no difference in y'all's team.
Yeah, no, he is so solid. I think it's interesting because he's used to playing against players that are champ or diamond, not necessarily like grand champ. So in this level, like he is locked in. He knows what to expect. And sometimes Gojo even like admits that people at this rank do unexpected things and he gets thrown for a loop. But he peaks well against higher ranking players. So for this one, I think Spanky might have even done a better job than Gojo could have, because he was everywhere, up and down, game 1, 2, and 3. Even though game 1 was a little close, didn't mean that. Oopsies, but we got it done.
So especially after that 2-second kickoff goal, I mentioned on the broadcast, like I literally looked down because I had my phone like up for chat, and then all of a sudden I heard the goal sound go off. I'm going like, wait, what the heck happened? Like, what did I miss within 2 seconds of Rocket League to, miss what happened? Yeah, but even though things were sort of showing up closer in that first game, I think this series was kind of emblematic of just ECRC in general. That you guys are capable of throwing out any lineup you've got within whatever capacity you got, just to sort of take it to whatever team you got at this point. Can you speak to sort of like, I guess like team dynamic or any sort of like agreement or any type of like dynamic you have between you guys? It's just like, yeah, it doesn't really matter what kind of like team we throw out. We just know we're gonna be there for each other. Like, is that the kind of thing that we're looking at, or anything like other that I could be missing? Or
No, I mean it's really nice having a team that there's really no bad players. So if anyone can't play, like for this week, Gojo was getting up at like 3 in the morning, whatever. So he's out. So we got to warm up with him, and then he wished us good luck, and then he's like probably passed out right now in bed. So like it's fine because we have Spanky who's gonna fill in and do an amazing job. Like we don't have any weak players at all. So that's great from like a mental standpoint, where if anyone can't make it, if Smashly or me or Spanky can't make it, then one of us gets to fill in and it's totally fine. We don't skip a beat. It did take a while to kind of get to this point of sort of comfortability, because Spanky plays very differently than Gojo does, and Gojo plays very differently than Smashly. And Smashley and I play somewhat similarly, so it's an interesting dynamic. But we're so far in the season, you know, regular season by now, that luckily we're trying to figure out what that looks like when, you know, each individual lineup of 3, what that dynamic looks like, and I think we're figuring it out finally going into playoff.
Yeah, and again on the broadcast, we said that a result like this is exactly what you want to see going into the playoffs, playing this sort of ball. So speaking of the playoffs, like how are you feeling? How you feeling about the playoffs off the back of topping the regular season charts?
I mean, playoffs are going to be sweaty. So sometimes in the regular season, you don't get that first choice lineup, whether it's your own or whether it's your opponent. But playoffs, I feel like every week is going to be everyone's A plus lineup. So I don't think there's going to be any easy games. So I mean, I'm excited for that, but it's going to be tough for everybody. I think there's going to be some upsets. There's going to be some drama, tears. Somebody's going to cry at some point. So, I mean, I'm excited for it, but
I mean, you don't have to call out Rydog like that, but
Damn, is this true?
did he make the playoffs?
true. Give it up.
Just barely. Just wait. He squeaked in.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
1 point was the difference, but it was enough.
Cauldron out. That's crazy.
Well, I've got nothing else. I'm just ready for the playoffs. I don't know if you got anything else, Devitt, but yeah.
I got nothing else on my end. Maz, I don't know if you wanted to run back that clip again, potentially get some audio back. Maybe we can finally hear what was going on within that replay. Let's check it out here.
Is there enough time? Oh, take it! Do it! Yeah!
I think we're still audioless, chat.
Is there enough
I do
time?
apologize.
Oh, take it! Do it!
I believe
What a setup.
Actually, it's Argless's fault. That's his fault. It is.
Yeah, his
Unbelievable.
his improper use of there is the reason why we can't get proper audio in this clip. So, but yeah, I think that'll do it for us. Toad, any shout outs? Floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest shout out's got to be to the team. They definitely made it possible. So they allowed me to be incredibly selfish today and get some goals, and it made them look like some scrubs, but they're not, I promise. So shout out to the team. Shout out to Gojo, who's probably just asleep by now. He's napping in his bed. And shout out to the rest of the server. We've got ECB, ECD. It's going to be fun to see them in the postseason tournament. I'm actually super glad that we're going to have kind of a losers bracket tournament. I don't know what it's going to be called, but it can't be called losers bracket. That's crazy disrespectful. So, but so that's all my shout outs. So, but yeah, biggest one goes out to basically the team tonight. So thank you guys.
Hell yeah!
Thank you, Toad.
Alrighty. I do believe that's the only interview that we do have for tonight, for you guys. But Toadeth, again, my MVP for this regular season. I think he played tremendous all season, so always good to hear from him. And again, the Golden Boot winner. So again, congratulations to Toad on that. That being said, Devitt, where do you want to go to next? I do believe we have updated stats. That might be another place we can go to if you want to go look at those.
Yeah, I think we were working on some stats here in the background. Actually, nope, never mind.
Nope, not yet.
That's all right. We don't have to go into that right now because that would kind of be insane work to get lightning quick. Here from production / stats / everyman Maz back here. So I will not force that on you right now, but I think one of the stats that we keep throwing at your face is probably one of the more important ones, is the fact that Toad Death has won Golden Boot winner here of SGL Season 8. That's one you got to be highlighting, one that you got to be considering when talking about your player, your MVP of SGL Season 8. In fact, I mean, that's your MVP, right? That's your MVP?
Yeah, I think if you lead the #1 team in the league and you're the best player on that team, I think that's probably a pretty good category, or pretty good. What's the word? It's pretty good inputs to put into your calculations for MVP. So Toad Death fits that, and so I think Toad Death for me is the MVP of this season. I think for a long time it was Meki Ducky, right? Meki Ducky was probably leading most people's MVP ballots, and still might end up being the MVP for a lot of people in this league. But I think for me, if you finish first in the league and you're the best player on the team, I'm gonna give you the MVP, and Toad Death has all the stats to back it up as well. So for me, if I had to award my worthless opinion on an MVP, it would be Toad Death.
Man, you might say you have a worthless opinion on stuff, but also whenever it comes to MVP, I'm also kind of looking at like what the player gives to their team. And I know you would never say yourself, but I will actually tip my cap to you initially as being an MVP of the league. Because looking at El Matador, between you being there and you not being there, it's not a like super stark difference, but whenever you're on the field, El Matador is clearly a better team, and you are a catalyst for getting that team to where it is. So I will tip my cap to you. But honestly, Toad Death is such a good shout. I would not blame anybody for picking Toad. We mentioned Meki Ducky here before. That's obviously a good shout. You could even look at other people in the league, like potentially even Shorts from the Rebellion as a potential MVP. You could even look at, if you wanted to like hard call out somebody, you could look at Bear Blitz, who's looking at like leading assists and saves for Steel Army in that team, getting them as far as they did. There's so many good options to pick, but I know who I tip my cap to. I know who you tip your cap to. You said it to you. But yeah, I'm just gonna tip my cap to you for MVP so far.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's kind of hard to like say yourself, obviously, but I think in general, there's like a bunch of different ways you can pick your MVP. Is it the most valuable player to that team? Like, for example, if that player is not there, do they have a chance of winning that series? Is it the best player on the best team? Does it have to be like a player from the top 2 or 3 teams? So there's a bunch of different ways to go about it, but I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm always I like the best player from the best team sort of thing. So, but yeah, I appreciate that. I think realistically, there's probably 3 players. I think that most people would have their ballots casted towards. I think Meki Ducky, Toad, and myself. Obviously, I picked Toad Death. But yeah, I think there's one of the things that I'm gonna do after this season, and we'll talk in the Discord about it. I want to look at like most improved player, best assister, best playmaker, those sorts of things, because there's some really great performances that we've seen from players that don't typically get the stardom on the commentary or in the Discord or whatever. You mentioned Bear Blitz, you mentioned Shorts. I think Christmas as well from EC Blue. We saw him tonight. Smashley as well from ECRC. Pretty overlooked player on what is the best team in the regular season in SGL. So players like that would fit into a category of like most improved or most underrated player. So that'll be something that over the next week I'm gonna kind of go down and just kind of look at those players. So yeah, I think we've had so many great performances this season that it's always hard to just highlight one player, you know, Debit. So yeah, across the board, there's been some great performances. Again, even from teams that didn't make the playoffs. David on Los Verdes, without him, I don't even know if they would get a single point in the league. So again, a lot of great performances all around. So I want to highlight those names.
A lot of names to highlight, as you mentioned, and oh gosh, production has told me that stats are ready.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see what we got. We got looking over here. We've already got top 5s going for this, and this looks to be the entire season here. As we mentioned, Toad Death going into that top points per game and top in total points, goals per game at 1.63, and Golden Boot winner at 57 goals. Gosh, there are a lot of names you could shout out here, especially some of these Black Army players that have done really well. Serrano, who hasn't showcased a lot here for KC Cauldron, but is definitely one of the best players that you want out there at a given time. Trying to look around else. What else are you noticing here?
You mentioned Bear Blitz on total assists. That's a cool shout for him. And again, Steel Army, a team that didn't make playoffs, and so for him to be at the top of the assist chart, I think speaks to how well he played this season. I know Smash is mentioning it in chat for Bird Nana. He was the #1 saves per game player. So again, congratulations to him. I also want to highlight just kind of the best players from each of the playoff teams, in my opinion. We have Vexamed making an appearance on the total goals, on the goals per game. He's just short of total points, but Vexamed for Black Army. We have Shorts finishing second in total points. For me, the best player on that Rebellion team all season. Although Polar is a really good shout as well on that team. I don't want to discredit his performance.
Absolutely.
Myself, I'll highlight myself for the series that I did play. I thought I had a good season. And then for Timbers Army, that team I think has one of the most underrated players in SGL in Nelly. I think Nelly is a super underrated player. I know Rydog gets all the love for being the awesome person that he is in our community, but Nelly I thought was tremendous. And then just one more thing, you mentioned Serrano. He does finish best in goals per game. As Matt says in chat, he didn't really feature much. If he would have featured more, unfortunately, I think for Timbers Army, I think that SKC, the Cauldron, would have been a playoff team. So there's a bunch of different storylines, a bunch of different names in here. But those are just kind of a few debit that I'm looking at while looking at these end of the year stats.
Important to point out, and I'd almost like point out the fact that I've just seen Huskies put on an absolute offensive performance here for EC Blue this entire season. With Christmas being added to that lineup, it just sort of keeps that tradition of EC Blue being a team that you can never fully roll out at any given point. I really want to shout out 2 players on Los Verdes as well, really helping out. I know the original roster was, that father-son duo, Devin and Bustin Cider, and also Palace being on that lineup as well. But I also want to shout out Triga for coming into this league as well, sort of stabilizing that third spot here for Los Verdes, being that option here for Palace and Devin to rely on, get those 50s within midfield. A new player being added to the league that just is going to keep improving over and over. Also, in addition to El Matador, that I was really pleasantly surprised with how they performed in season, was Ponzi having that addition mid-season, coming in and really being a nice stabilizing force for El Matador as well. I know Matt said in chat, I feel like we have a lot more most improved candidates than honestly MVP candidates at this point. Like, we have so many shouts for so many players that it's hard to condense it to one real bright spot. The only real conclusion I can kind of draw is that SGL is getting better because of playing against each other, and it's only going to make these matchups even harder down the line.
Yeah, and again, I do want to highlight one of the EM guys dropping a sub. Appreciate that. We also see Gojo in chat. I just want to highlight everybody in chat. Mecky Ducky, Todes, Smashley, Rain City, Monkey, Arglass. A bunch of you guys came through tonight, so really appreciate y'all being here. As always, in the commentary booth, it's always nice to see the Twitch chat moving up and down, so I really appreciate the feedback in chat. So, yeah, really appreciate y'all being here. And, again, I think, to echo what you said, Devitt, this league is just as competitive as it's ever been. And I think people are just getting better every week, every game week, every individual match. So it's fun to see that. And as a player, it's fun to play in a league in which everybody's getting better. I think it just kind of raises the floor of the gameplay and the experience of what we have here in a supporters soccer-driven league. So it's been fun. Been really fun to commentate, to play. I'm on a personal level, I'm happy that I will not be missing a game now for the rest of the season. So I can kind of hop back into just being a player for the rest of the season. But yeah, it was really fun, Devitt. I really enjoyed Season 8, man. I think it's not just like the cliche thing to say just because we're commentating right now, but I really think it was my favorite season of SGL so far.
It's interesting having this sort of perspective now, sort of going from the fun of Season 1 all the way back through Season 8 now, sort of seeing where, leadership has gone back and forth. We've seen so many teams come in and out. It's all sort of culminated in this stabilizing force of, all right, we've got a solid foundation here going. Let's just keep building off of that. So, and just like this regular season, let's keep building off of that. Let's carry this energy into the playoffs. Let's get this done. let's get this pushing forward. Let's keep pushing the boundaries of our skill levels, and we'll keep on pushing through as we get through to playoffs. And that's where all my excitement is at this point. So I have basically run out of things to say here for this broadcast here tonight. Luis, anything else before we sign off?
Yeah, before you sign off, again, for all playoff teams, I really want to highlight this. Please try to get your games played as fast as possible. We're trying to get in the entirety of the playoffs before Christmas week. So I have no worries that we'll get it done before that week, but I do encourage all of the playoff teams to finish your games as soon as possible, because there will be other teams that are waiting on you to finish your series. So that's about it from me, Debit. Again, I appreciate everybody being here. Congratulations to the top 6 playoff teams for making it in Season 8, and the playoffs start on Monday, and I can't wait to be a part of it and to be a viewer. So GG's to everybody this season. And again, if you are not a playoff team as well, you will be receiving news shortly about your tournament as well. So a bunch more SGL action to come, Debit, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. Chat, that'll do it for us here in the booth. A quick little shout out to Maz for putting on all the production here tonight. A lot of back and forth and updating live as we go throughout. So make sure to thank him for all the work he's been continuing to do for this season. He really carries a lot of the workload here for SGL, making our lives easier. And yeah, let's just carry that excitement that we got to the playoffs, and let's get Season 8 wrapped up. So with that, chat, we'll see you in the playoffs.